I think, Deborah, like for women in this country, this idea that you can be murdered by your partner and be under the floorboards of your own home for so long, and for him to be courting media attention and for you to be left unfound. And also, as you mentioned there, this idea that her entire reputation would be besmirched by him. It wasn't enough that he would kill her, that he would tear down her reputation in the eyes of the public.
I mean, I think if you were to sum up this trial in one word, it would be control. But it was interesting because it was almost like you were listening to the evidence, and so much of the evidence, of course, came from Richard Satchwell's mouth. And then you were listening to what he was saying, but it was the actual nuance in between where that control was, where, you know, you really got that sense. And just one particular instance of that, I remember in one of his Garda interviews, he described Tina, they said, describe Tina in one word, and he said physically perfect. But he was then able to tell Gardaí her exact measurements. So he told them her shoe size, her bust size, her hip size. Just things that you're thinking no partner or husband would normally know this. But he was, you know, painting this picture the whole time of this really devoted husband, this devoted man. But actually, if you're to flip that on its head, it was a devoted man who was so-called devoted man who was actually controlling his wife, not only when she was alive by alienating her from all of her friends, but actually after he killed her, he controlled the entire narrative, telling everyone that Tina may have had depression. This is why she ran off, that she might have gone off with someone else, that she was a violent woman. So he was just controlling that entire narrative for the whole time she was missing. And it didn't even stop when her body was found. That element of control continued because he was then obviously arguing self-defence, that his wife flew at him and that she lost her temper. And that element of control actually continued quite gallingly right up until yesterday, because in the sentence hearing, Richard Satchwell effectively had the last word in court, because we heard his barrister Brendan Grehan right before the murder sentence was handed down to him, said that he had taken instructions from him and that he intended to appeal his conviction for murder. And he said that he wanted the court to know that despite what was heard in court, in of course the defence he mounted, Richard Satchwell wanted the court to know that Tina was a lovely person. So even at that stage yesterday, he still had to have that control and that final word.
I think, Deborah, like for women in this country, this idea that you can be murdered by your partner and be under the floorboards of your own home for so long, and for him to be courting media attention and for you to be left unfound. And also, as you mentioned there, this idea that her entire reputation would be besmirched by him. It wasn't enough that he would kill her, that he would tear down her reputation in the eyes of the public.